I've been looking at Genshin characters' mythological inspirations for about 4 years. Usually, the prominent characters like the Archons are inspired by multiple mythological figures, sometimes from different cultures, sometimes from different time periods. Lauma is the first character I'm looking at from the Nod Krai cast, and I was very pleasantly surprised to find out that she has one mythological figure that's the primary inspiration for everything from her design to her role. But this one primary inspiration kind of bleeds into a lot of other real world deities that we have, and what that implies for Lama's future potential and role in the story is something I find very interesting, because it looks like she has a very important role to play in the story going forward. In this video, I'll be talking about what this role is and what her primary inspirations are. Lama's primary inspiration comes from the Lithuanian group of goddesses who share the same name, Lamas. The goddesses are woodland spirits, and they are some of the oldest goddesses that we have in recorded history. The appearance of the goddess Lauma is that of a half woman and half animal, which can either be a mare, which is a female horse, a goat, or a dog. So let's say if she was half goat, how the Lamas would look is it would have the body of a woman, the head of a goat, and the bottom half of a goat. So it would look like a centaur, but also with a horse head, but just with a human torso. Lauma in game is clearly half stag. The bottom half of her body is a stag, and she also has antlers coming out of her head. In case the goddesses Lauma were half goat, they would also have horns. So you can see how her visual appearance is clearly inspired by the Lauma goddesses. But it gets even deeper than that. These goddesses are usually depicted as being cyclops, having a single eye, and Lauma has a tuft of hair covering one of her eyes. How convenient. And lastly, since Lauma is a goddess of fertility, Mother Earth, even water, similar to all the other Mother Earth goddesses, this goddess is depicted to be having very large breasts, and clearly they've also taken inspiration from that. And that's about it with the physical appearances, but her lore makes it even more interesting. Let's get into that. Lauma even has one of her stories where she was supposed to be the bride of the thunder god Perkunas. If you're not familiar with Perkunas, I'm not either, but I'm familiar with Proto-Indo-European mythology, and Perkunas is someone who fills the role of the Sky Father, similar to Odin and Indra and Zeus. So her being the Mother Earth goddess makes sense that she was meant to be the bride of the Sky Father, because usually in mythologies across the world, the Sky Father and the Earth Mother are a pair. But she refused to get married to Perkunas because she fell in love with the moon god and she tried to run away, which makes a lot of sense for the Genshin moon chanter high priestess to be inspired by a goddess who fell in love with the moon. Beyond that, the Lauma goddesses are said to dwell in their own thrones in the sky, but they also visit Earth, specifically grasslands and forests close to water bodies. A lot of water bodies in Lithuania have their names inspired by the Lamas, so they gather down from their heavenly abode to these grasslands or forests near water bodies, specifically on nights of new moon and full moon, and they gather around in circles and perform certain chantings and rituals, leaving behind fairy circles when they leave. This is why I was very surprised when I found out about the Lauma goddesses looking at Lauma, because Genshin usually is kind of subtle with their inspiration, but in Lama's case, and maybe in the case of the future Nod Krai characters as well, they seem to be pretty outright drawing straight one-to-one inspirations from the mythological figures, which I find very interesting. These ritualistic chantings that they used to have would usually have the effect of making it rain, like a rain dance. And the Lamas are associated with rainbows as well. The rainbows are said to be ribbons lost by the Lamas, which ties into another very significant role that they played, which is being the goddess or being associated with weaving or spinning thread. If you're familiar with Greek mythology, you can see exactly where I'm going with this. The Lamas, other than that, are said to be very motherly and maternal in nature, and this combined with their knack or skill in weaving and also household chores made them a very household deity that was worshipped. The other goddess Lauma is inspired by is Mokosh, who is a Slavic Pagan Mother Earth Goddess who's associated associated with the earth, fertility, love, and water. So Mokosh is very similar to Lauma in that both of them are Mother Earth goddesses, but there's two things which I find very interesting in the similarities that they share, which is not usually something we see in Mother Earth goddesses. The first one is that both of them are also associated with water. The second one is that Mokosh is also associated with spinning or weaving threads, which makes scholars think that she might also be a goddess of fate. Spinning and weaving threads is usually associated with fate because of not just the Greek morai or fates, but a very old symbolism that we've had for a very long time, cultures across the world. It ties into the divine feminine. In the Greek mythology, it's very interesting to me because the three fates are Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos, three goddesses that dictate the fate of mankind. And there's a very old theory in the Genshin lore that the three moon goddesses are inspired directly one-to-one from the three morai from Greek mythology, which makes it very interesting to me that both of Lauma's primary inspirations are associated with spinning and weaving and the goddesses who govern fate. This is the first thing I find interesting. The second thing is something that ties into my grand theory with all of Nod Krai's inspiration in one, which is that the divine feminine, one of the oldest goddesses that we know of, who was the proto version, a lot of goddesses that we find today in living and dead mythologies. For the sake of this video, I'll be using Hecate to fill the role of this divine feminine. This divine feminine has three forms: maiden, mother, crone, a smaller child, a middle-aged woman, and an older woman. And these three are said to fill the roles of the three morai from fate. The maiden spins the thread, the mother determines the length of the thread, and the crone determines when the thread has to be cut. Hecate and the divine feminine, figures that are heavily associated with the moon as well, which ties into my grand theory. I think the 12 factions in Nod Krai represent the different moon goddesses that split apart from the proto-Indo-European moon goddess. Examples of this could be Artemis, Hecate, and Lauma, and so much more. I'll be making a much more dedicated video on this topic because it requires a lot more research, and more importantly, I need to know more about what's going on with the factions and see what happens in the Archon quest. But I'm pretty sure that this is the angle they're going with. The 12 factions in Nod Krai are inspired by 12 different versions of the moon goddesses that are inspired by the Proto-Indo-European moon goddess. And lastly, I want to talk about the very cute, for lack of a better term, inspiration in Lauma's reaction design. Lauma, as you know, is someone who enables the use of Lunar Bloom reaction, and coincidentally, all of her inspirations, Lauma and Mokosh, are Mother Earth goddesses who are also associated with water, Dendro and Hydro. You might think that this is a stretch or a funny coincidence, but I have a video coming out on what the true inspirations behind the Dendro reactions have been so far, because they had mentioned in a stream before Sumeru release that the inspirations for the Dendro reactions are based in mythology, and it was pretty easy for me to crack what these inspirations are. I have a video coming out on that soon, and this is why it is relevant that the goddesses that inspire Lauma are associated with Mother Earth and water, Dendro and Hydro. Now, coming to Lauma's role in the story and her future potential, I find it very interesting that she's a non-Archon character that's inspired by very prominent mythological figures from their respective cultures. And the fact that both of her inspirations are also the goddesses of fate and also are associated with a spinning and weaving thread. You know, the loom of fate. The mythological inspirations that characters have usually also dictate their role in the story. That's why I think she has a very important role to play. Maybe her presence and her actions are what initiate or enable a certain plot device to take place in the story. And maybe when the final threat in Nod Krai is eliminated, we'll see a rainbow piercing through the clouds because rainbows are associated with llamas. However, Lauma the goddess is supposed to be a character that fell in love with the moon. I don't think Genshin's Lauma is someone who's going to fall in love with the moon or have anything to do with Columbina, because the character that is hinted to fulfill the lover's role for Columbina is Arlecchino. Columbina and Arlecchino, the characters in the Commedia dell'arte play, are always lovers. And Arlecchino is the dire Bale Moon herself. She has a lot of moon symbolism. In Arlecchino's case, it's more eclipse symbolism than moon symbolism, but it's still there. And Arlecchino, in my opinion, is the most direct inspiration we have from the Divine Feminine. I have a video on Arlecchino that's coming out in a few weeks, in which I'll be delving deeper into how she is inspired by and how she represents the Divine Feminine. If you enjoyed this video, do consider checking out the other videos on my channel, revealing Raiden's true identity, why Durin is the Philosopher's Stone, and Malvika's design analysis. I hadn't planned on making a video on Lauma, but I found a few interesting details, so I thought I would make a video on her, since she is also the current character everyone is talking about. If you want to see more shorter videos like this where I talk about the latest character released, do let me know. I plan on making future videos like this on Flynn's, Nefer, and all of the other upcoming characters as well. If you enjoyed the video, if you learned something new, if you want to support me, do leave a like and let me know what you thought in the comments. I read and respond to every single comment. I love interacting with you guys. And thank you. Also, do share the video with any of your friends if you think they would be interested in this kind of content. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and until next time.